So Hamnet is the latest film from director Chloe Zhao, and it focuses on the life of William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes, and how they dealt with the death of their child Hamnet, and how that carried on into the production of Hamlet. Now, what I love so much about Zhao's productions is that she always has this ability to like tap into like the natural, in the way that she kind of like embraces, the serene quality of nature itself, and tries to like tap into something deeper there. And I think that works to the benefit of what she's trying to do with Hamnet here, because what the film is more or less trying to focus on the most is trying to deal with mortality. Even before like the death of Hamnet that inspires William Shakespeare to create his play of Hamlet, you can sense that Agnes wants to be more in touch with her spiritual side and her connection to the earth and other people as well. And a big part of making that type of performance work is who you get in the role. And Jessie Buckley here, I think, gives one of the best performances of her career. I love the way that she just kind of, she has like this very thoughtful personality that is, that she can go from like being like this powerful force who's wise and almost like has like this like sagely presence when in the wilderness, to just being like fragile and easily broken and just a mess when like tragedy strikes her. But before we get to all that, we do get to see the romance develop between her and William Shakespeare, here played by Paul Mescal, which, it's Paul Mescal. I don't think I have to explain that he gives a really great, nuanced performance here, a very conflicted man. I mean, that's pretty much what I expected from Paul Mescal. But he still does a really good job. I love the way that he plays off Jessie Buckley. They have a very natural rapport with each other, whether they're connecting in the bedroom or just giving them like seductive glances in the forest. There's always, you can feel like this romance between them where it makes sense why they would connect and have children with each other. Even when they have their children too, you see like a family that really does love each other and that kind of like cherish that connection. In particular with Agnes, I loved seeing how Buckley's performance here feels like she wants to like teach her children so many things beyond just like the typical things that she would teach like her daughters, as opposed to William Shakespeare, who teaches Hamnet how to perform like stage combat and stuff like that. She does have this connection where she can share something with all of her children, and how she talks about nature and death and what where spirits might go, and trying to like fathom these tough questions and try to find a way to deal with it. And it's great to see her kind of have these ideas, but also watch as just her soul shatters when trying to deal with the tragedy that strikes in her family. And it strikes in a few ways. Like at one point it strikes when Hamnet is born with a daughter, and Agnes kind of goes back and forth with like the guilt that she might feel if one of the twins died when they were coming out. She's not ready to like let go, or she debates how to let go. And I think it's also kind of interesting how they showcase that aspect of sacrifice within Hamnet. For one, Hamnet is adorable, but also it's adorable the way that he plays off his twin here, the way that he tries to like switch clothing with her and try to deceive people, and not to mention like the family bond that this whole family has. Like when they're all together, it's very warm and comforting, but there's also this longing that William Shakespeare has for something bigger, where living in the countryside is not enough for him. So you do see that conflict between him and Agnes that feels like a very relatable family drama for how it's staged here. But when tragedy strikes and it feels like William is not as present, you can feel that isolation and frustration and just that broken nature within Agnes through Jessie Buckley. The performance she gives when the moment happens, when Hamnet dies, and you just see her heart tear in half, and you see her break down in the most like emotionally devastating way possible. That's just like you want to cry in that moment right along with her, because I mean, like that's a very powerful moment. You have to sell that hard, and I think Buckley's performance makes that work, especially for how she tries to like move on and deal with it in such a dour setting. And yet it always feels like the film is kind of like daring to find the heart underneath like all the dirt, and like there's like scenes of like the streets flooding, and people are dying of sickness, and just it's like daring you to find the humanity there. And I love how like Agnes struggles to find it, and how William tries to like bring it out through his work as well. It's very moving, a lot of the performances here, especially like the climax of the film, when William Shakespeare finally does put on his production of Hamlet, and Agnes witnesses it for the first time as kind of like this big surprise, as being like as a tribute to their dead child. And the way that it proceeds, and the way that you see Buckley's performance here, which is mostly very little dialogue. It's mostly just her like kind of staring in awe at the performance of this onstage Hamlet here. The way that she kind of like learns to deal with her grief through this play. And at one point she's just kind of like almost like reaching out to Hamlet, and just kind of like realizing like, yeah, you need to let go, and it's hard, and like we don't know what lies beyond. And it's this very like comforting nature of like William Shakespeare communicating through his art. Agnes just understands in that moment. It's like I get it now. Like, there is like some healing aspect through art, and I understand, what my husband was trying to do here. But I've also kind of come more to terms with death itself in a way that I didn't previously. And I think it's a fascinating route that Agnes takes here, because she starts the film having this idea that she's very much in tune with nature and mortality, and then having that aspect shaken in her when it's her own children who end up dying too soon, and just realizing how to move on, and how art can help heal some of those wounds, and not in like a very like melodramatic way. Like the scene where she watches the performance, it is just beautiful. It is a very weepy moment. Like, I was sitting right next to a critic who is just, tearing up, tissues in hand, ready for that moment. But it's like, it's also a very like serene moment as well. Like, it's somber, but it also feels like there's a very deep human connection there to want to understand the unknown, and almost like accepting that it is something that we're never going to fully understand, but that we can understand it as best as we can while we're here in this world. Jessie Buckley's performance really makes this film come together, and I think it's one of the best performances of the year. Don't get me wrong, Paul Mescal's really good here, but I expected him to be good. He's given a lot of great performances before, but Buckley owns this film almost as much as Chloe Zhao's direction and cinematography here, which really does showcase a lot of the beauty where it's present, and almost kind of have like this like raw nature to just kind of like pull the camera back and just let this environment and this atmosphere and the family warmth and drama just wash over you in a way that kind of like prevents it from being melodrama. And it really moved me. I think this is very much a tearjerker film, but I think for a film that wants to find a way to like grapple with grief and our own mortality, and how we try to deal with that through art, not just through like the play, but even just like the film itself. I think is beautiful. Like there's that great scene at the end of the film where you're watching Agnes watch Hamlet and realize that there is a way to deal with everything that befalls us in our life. And watching that, it's almost very meta the way that it comes across, because we're also watching her watching a piece of art that is trying to communicate something about death. And it's beautifully moving. I could not stop thinking about that final scene here. So yeah, the fantastic performances. Chloe Zhao once again really knows how to direct a film that connects on a natural level and a human level, and Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal are fantastic in this film.